Top 10 most disturbing last words of death row inmates. Prior to execution, it is customary for condemned criminals to return to the platform and deliver their last statements to the audience. Whether it's a terrible message intended to startle or disturb those in attendance, a lighthearted comment intended to provoke a few smiles, or the last slap in the face of society, criminals have said some pretty interesting things in the minutes before drawing their last breath. Here are the last statements of 10 death row inmates, as well as the horrible messages they leave the world with. J.W. Gacy, kiss my ass. John Wayne Gacy was convicted of rape and murder of 33 men between 1972 and 1978. The former Children's Party entertainer became known as the Killer Clown due to all of the parties he attended in his clown attire and full-face makeup. Aileen Wuornos, whose last words were, "I'd just like to say I'm sailing with the Rock, and I'll be back like Independence Day with Jesus June 6. Like the movie, I'll be back, big mothership and all." By the time Aileen Wuornos was a teenager, she had been abandoned by her parents and was working as a prostitute and stealing others to support herself. Between 1989 and 1990, Wuornos shot, killed, and robbed at least 6 people. When she was captured and tied in 1991, she received 6 death sentences, earning her the false title of first female American serial killer in the news. George Appel. Well, gentlemen, you are about to see a baked Appel. These were convicted murderer George Appel's last remarks before being executed in the electric chair in New York in 1928 for the murder of a New York City police officer. Peter Curtin. Tell me, after my head has been chopped off, will I still be able to hear, at least for a moment, the sound of my own blood gushing from the stump of my neck? That would be a pleasure to end all fun. Peter Curtin is accused of killing over 60 people in Germany. He raped at least one of his victims and drank their blood. Curtin was beheaded on July 2, 1931. John Spanklink. His last words were, "Capital punishment. They without the capital get the punishment." In self-defense, John Spanklink murdered a traveling companion. He was also the first person killed in Florida after the U.S. Supreme Court reinstated the death penalty in 1976. Barbara "Bloody Babs" Graham. She said, "Good people are always so sure they're right." Bloody Babs Barbara Graham, a prostitute, drug addict, and murderess, was murdered in the San Quentin gas chamber with 2 accomplices in 1955. During a bundled theft, Graham killed an old woman. When the man in charge of her execution, Joe Ferretti, placed her in the gas chamber, he told her, "Now take a large breath and it won't affect you," to which she replied, "How would you know?" Gary Gilmore. Let's do it. Gary Gilmore, convicted of killing a hotel manager, was killed on January 17, 1977, by a volunteer firing squad in Utah. He was the first person to be executed when the United States reinstated the death penalty in 1976 after a 10-year hiatus. Carl Panzram. He said, "In my lifetime, I have murdered 21 human beings. I have committed thousands of burglaries, robberies, thefts, arsons, and last but not least, I have committed sodomy on more than 1,000 male human beings. For all these things, I am not in the least bit sorry." Carl Panzram was an executed serial killer, rapist, arsonist, and burglar on September 5, 1930. He refused to appeal his sentence, threatening to assassinate members of human rights groups who attempted to represent him. Tim McVeigh's. "I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul." Timothy McVeigh is most known as the Oklahoma City bomber, and he was convicted of placing the bomb on April 19, 1995, at the federal building in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, which killed 149 adults and 19 children. McVeigh made no last statements before being executed by lethal injection in Indiana on June 11, 2001. He did, however, leave a handwritten letter that paraphrased the last lines of Sir William Ernest Henley's poem Invictus. James French. How's this for a headline? French fries. James French was the last person executed by an electric chair in Oklahoma on August 10, 1966. French, who was already imprisoned for life but allegedly refused to commit suicide, murdered his cellmate, reportedly to compel the authorities to execute him. Thank you all for watching again, and don't forget to subscribe to not miss out on our amazing stories.